Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Paranormal Guys. We are pre-recorded, so there won't be a live chat, but please feel free to leave any comments you want. We are blessed to have, I would like to call her a friend. I hope that I could use that word. Miranda Maverick is here with us today. And of course, I'm always joined by the wonderful and beautiful Dina.
Hi.
So we have got her. She's just gotten from, she has just finished with a great fight. And so we're going to find out all the details from the fight. And she's got some info about pickles and an auction. And then, well, who knows? We'll just go from here. So let's welcome Miss Miranda. Hello there.
Hello. You made it sound like Dina's the one that was fighting. I was like, wow.
Sometimes I fought different people, but not in the ring.
Hello, though, everyone. If you watched the fights on February 17th, you probably saw me on the very first fight. I was pretty happy to be the first fight, actually, because I got to go back and eat pizza and ice cream all night and enjoy my family.
That is nice. So, well, tell us about the fight. I know the last time we chatted, you had some problems after the fight. And so all that is fixed now. You're good. And you had a great fight. It looked like to me, it was unanimous. Of course, like I told you earlier, I don't know all the technical moves and stuff. And I was like, oh, ow, oh. I finally saw it.
I had a couple of poor moments in the fight where Andrea suplexed me in the first round after I had taken her. Well, after she had taken me down. I tried to take her down, but made a mistake. She ended up suplexing me, got right back up, and still won that round 2 out of 3 of the judges' scorecards. And then she caught me with a backhand in the third round. And other than that, I pretty much dominated the whole fight with striking primarily, but also took her down a couple times, controlled top position. So it was a really good fight for me. I showed a lot of improvement in my striking that most people had not seen, especially against a girl who has a huge kickboxing and boxing background. And of course, a lot of experience within the UFC too. I think it's funny that every time I fight, people like crapping on the other girl, you know, they'll be like, oh, she was the worst, she needs cut. And I'm like, Andrea was top 10 for like 5 years. What are you people talking about? And all of her losses have now came from ranked opponents. Like, it's not like she had losses against scrubs, you know, and she'll still win and be a solid gatekeeper for the division if she wanted to be, you know. So people who are hating on her, I always feel bad for my opponents after the fact, you know. It's like, you people are so mean. Like, a lot of casuals out there, they're just like, oh, she sucks. And I'm like, can't I just be good? Like, I made her look bad because I was on point that day. And, you know, she came back and was like, well, I was sick a little bit or whatever. And it's like, yeah, she had a bad night. We all have bad nights in there. And it sucks for us all, but the fans that get on there, and mine are very supportive this time, of course, but I know when I lose, it just, the tables get turned, you know, and social media can be very hateful. So from that aspect, I like to say kudos to Andrea. You know, she got in there, she fought, she's been one of the best, she's been an inspiration for years, and I hope to be the next inspiration for years, you know, and keep working my way up the ladder. After the fight, I got ranked number 14, so looking for another ranked opponent. I wish it could be in May in St. Louis, Missouri, because that would be my hometown state. I've been told the cards are already booked, but I'm going to keep my weight low and be ready for any short notices, like always. And I think between the time we talked last, I also had that fight in July that I won via submission, like a couple weeks after we talked.
Mm-hmm.
I remember.
Absolutely, yeah. And then you were so busy we couldn't manage to hook up. Well, you're always
busy, but we got this one to work.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you're always on the go. If you're not training, you're at I guess teaching others and you know, doing speaking engagements. And did you ever think you'd be in a spot like this where you were so in demand?
No, you know, I always thought when I was growing up, I was not one of those kids. I joke about it because I was not one of those kids that was like, I want to be a professional athlete. Like, I never had any of the crazy dreams like a lot of kids did. I was very practical. I still am a practical person, but I was like, you know, I'm going to be dressed in business suits my entire life. I'm going to go get a good education and I'm going to be a lawyer or a high level accountant. That was always like my thinking, right? And then when I hit junior in high school, I had like this career development class that I decided I was going to go shadow an accountant. Most boring day of my life.
Oh my
And
God.
I was like, this is
Imagine.
the worst. Yeah, this is the worst thing ever. But I love math, right? I still
Mhm.
love math. I'm very good at it. And it's rare for like females within the field of mathematics, right? So I was like, I still want to do something like this. I'm intrigued by psychology of people.
Oh,
And so I went, I have my master's in IO psychology. I decided from a junior on that that's what I wanted to do, industrial psychology, be part of employee development and stuff. And it happened to be that I'm not really into employee development anymore. I got a call from my boss, that is my current boss, from the Hershey company, the chocolate company. And now I work as a statistician for them in my day-to-day job, right? So I don't get to dress up all the time. Instead, I get to sit here in sweats and hoodies and whatever I want to wear, which is pretty nice. And the athlete part just kind of came as I got my education. It was very random, very different. And every day I look back and go, I can't believe this is real. So,
That's very cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you
I'm
know,
poor. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you hit on something there about women in certain businesses.
Yeah.
I remember when Ronda Rousey came out and everybody was like, I don't know, a women's division. I think now the women's division is more popular than the men's. What do you
Mhm.
think?
I don't think it's more popular. I mean, we can kind of see that in the number of female fights to male fights across the cards, but a lot of it's due to population of the fighters, right? Like I always say that this is one sport where it's harder for the men. And that sounds silly, but by that, I mean the competition level is so much greater for the men because there's so many more men in the sport, right? Only the top
Mhm.
like 1% of men get into the UFC, I would say. And I'd say the top 5% of females get into the UFC, which is a pretty big gap if you look at it across the sport, right? So I've always said that part. However, it's harder for the females within the gym, you know, us training, us getting the respect that we need, especially with the exploitation that fighters do of themselves. A lot of female fighters go out there and sell their bodies online and stuff, and for local
Yeah.
promotions and things. It makes it to where they're way more successful than those of us who don't do that kind of thing. And or talk crap all the time. You know, you see the most popular people, and that's because they're the most hated people, but it also makes them the most loved somehow. So it makes it hard. It's like you can be a good fighter, you can be a good person, but usually that's not going to make you the most famous. And I try to put myself in the category where I'm good enough that I still get enough popularity to have a platform to do what I need to do, to represent God, to represent the good things that I want to represent without just being quiet and never saying anything without getting any popularity.
You do have a good platform. I mean, the things you do stand for. I love the fact that you give kudos to your opponent. I mean, that's one thing that's rare is the sportsmanship. I
Yeah.
mean, that I see a lot.
Yeah,
You know.
especially in public, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of fighters are different when you meet them in person versus in public, which, you know, is part of the game, right? It's part of the
Right.
persona, like I said. But yeah, sometimes there's some rude people, and sometimes there's some of the best people you meet within MMA. So people that are like,
Yeah.
oh, everybody in the sport is great. I'm like, that's not true at all.
Yeah.
But there are, just like normal people, there's the bad apples and there's the good apples, and there's most of them that just fall somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Right. And I hope that I'm a good role model and fall into the better category. But I try to get out there and teach when I can and kind of
Mhm.
share knowledge. My passion is more for teaching the women and the kids just because I think it's more practical for them in day to day life and having to protect themselves and having that confidence to be able to protect themselves. But that and supporting human trafficking survivors and things like that have kind
Mhm.
of been my passions. There's so many causes out there to support, right? And I try
Yeah.
to just pick one or two that I'm going to heavily focus on so that it's not all the time me posting about these things. I have people reach out to me and they're like, can you post about this person? They have cancer. Can you post about this? They have this,
Yeah.
they have this. I probably get 3 requests a day. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. Like I will pray. I hope for the best, but I have to pick and choose the things that I support that I want to stand for. And I try my best to, you know, donate where I can, but I'm not the richest person in the world right now.
That has to be difficult to try to turn. I mean, to turn someone down like that. But I mean,
Yeah.
you can't. Just can't support everybody that
Yeah,
asks you. I mean,
exactly. And it's like if I know them and I was close with them or something, that's one thing. But if it's a stranger, like my great grandma has cancer, I'm like, "Ah, listen,
yeah.
like there's also 5-year-olds with cancer that I would rather
Right.
support. And that sounds mean and bad, but I'm like, I have to pick and choose. I can't do everything. I'll give them a share on a story or whatever. But that's
Yeah.
probably the hardest thing of what I do, is dealing with when I have to say no, even though I don't want to say no. It's
Yeah.
one thing to be like, ew, you guys are gross. No. It's another
Right.
if I'm like, wow, I really support what you're saying or doing. I just don't have the time or the energy or the resources to support it.
Yeah. And it's good that I mean, at least offer a prayer for them. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the best you can do,
Do what I can. Yeah. And
Yeah.
of course, sometimes I'll get different responses. Some are like, thank you so much. And others are like,
Yeah.
you're a B word. Bye.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah. They just want your money. Or,
And
well, sometimes they just want your money, but, you never can
yeah.
tell with people. And there's
Right.
so
And that's the
many.
problem too. There's so many scams out there.
Yeah.
I'm like, half of these probably are just scams to try to get
Right.
me to send money. So,
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to trust people anymore.
spe- and speaking of social media, they got a little harsh to you a little while back, didn't they?
man, it was rough when I lost to Jasmine Jasudavicius. It was bad. I had like tons of suicide call outs. Like, they're like, you should just go
Oh,
kill yourself. You
oh
made
my,
me lose thousands of dollars. You're not worth anything. Like, just so many hateful things, And then even when it's good stuff, like, it'll be vulgar comments every once in a while and messages, and I have to block people. So you get the whole spectrum. But overall, I have a very good support system within my fan base. And honestly, since becoming part of the card collecting group, they have been amazingly supportive. Like, it's been crazy to me. Like, not just in my gear and stuff, but if I'm doing something for a good cause, they don't even care if they're my fans. They'll go in there and they'll put $5, $10, they'll buy something. And not for me, to make that clear, but for whatever auction I'm running, or they'll share something or they'll like something. And at first, when I started, there'd be little comments, that were not vulgar, but like on the flirty side and stuff from some of them. But they have been nothing but respectful for the last few months. They're awesome, super supportive group. So I'm glad to have found that new fan base as well in the last few months, and kind of include that within my audience.
that's good.
Well, that's because we're nerds.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. It's true. A lot of the people that collect cards also are into the comic books, so we're nerds.
True.
Typically, nerds aren't mean. So
Yeah.
Normally, but I'm a pretty big nerd, so I don't know.
yeah, that's true. Well, we've got to get you. What was it? Taylor Swift and Kelsey got a comic book. I'm going to lobby for you to get
Oh,
a comic
yeah.
book.
Yes.
That
Hey,
would
that'd
be
be pretty
good.
good, especially with my name. We could make something out of that
Yeah.
name and the farming. It could be
Yeah.
something
The
cool.
Hey,
pickles.
I
Pickles.
will lobby. I have an interview coming up with the artist and company Tidal Wave that did Taylor Swift, Travis Kelsey. I always get it confused.
Yeah.
Um, and we got him because of Dolly Parton and my connections to East Tennessee. But then they did that one, and I'm like, okay, well, we're still going to talk about Dolly because that's a great topic. But I mean,
Yeah.
like an 80-year-old woman in a Dallas Cowgirl cheerleader, how can you go outfit? How can you go wrong with that? So I get that, but we're gonna hit the other things. So I will definitely put a bug in there. So
Hey, that'd be pretty awesome. My new thing with the cards is when I get time, which, might be 5 years from now. Just kidding. I'm going to start doing one-of-one sketches of fighters, like different fighters that people want, and start selling those as well. So be drawing the cards myself and doing it. So that's going to be pretty cool within the card community.
Yeah, I've seen some of your artwork. It's amazing.
Thank you.
How do you? Well, I guess how do you keep such? Manage to keep lines so straight and everything after being hit in the head so many times.
My lines are never straight. I'm not very good at the straight lines. They're always the curved lines, I'm just very good as long as I have a picture in front of me. I'm not very creative when it comes to like, tell me to draw a picture of someone from memory. It's not going to happen. Like, no way. But if I have a picture in front of me, I don't know. I think it's just the attention to detail. And of course, like God-given talent, because I don't really have any other excuse. I'm always like, anybody could do this. They just have to pay attention and sit down and really try. And my dad's like, no, that's not how it works. And I'm like,
it is a talent. It is a talent. So
yeah.
hey, maybe you can go draw comic books too. So you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
I could. It's just like, what do I have a passion for, and what do I get paid enough to do it for? Like, I have kids' books that I've written. I just haven't illustrated them yet, and I would love to get them published. But I'd also like to illustrate, like be the illustrator. So that's kind of on the back burner too. Now the AI is coming out, I'm almost like, I gotta beat them to it. Like, I gotta hurry up with this. But I'm hoping to make kind of like, have you seen the Braves kids' books?
Yes.
the new like conservative more books. So they're kind of like that. Like each one of my books has like a little lesson to them, and I don't want it stolen, so I won't say the full name on here, but it's going to be like river critters kind of thing, and it's going to be like each animal has like its own little lesson with it and stuff. So
That's so cool.
yeah.
I would love to do something like that myself.
Yeah.
So you said river critter? No, I'm just kidding. I'm
We
kidding.
had, we're big into the Bigfoot and ghosts and all that stuff. We have a guy on here that's pretty successful in the Bigfoot community. He decided to do his artwork from Bigfoot looking out, like kids' stories, like the kids are in the woods. And so I thought that was a cool idea. So Jason's working on that one. I think it's almost done. He's done his own comic book. So
very nice. That's pretty cool.
Here's the nerd in me. When you're teaching, I was thinking about this the other night. Do you ever work with law enforcement? And because law enforcement has some programs training ladies how to protect themselves. And I don't know if you've noticed, but we're in a dangerous, you can be out jogging and be killed by somebody. It's a hot topic in Georgia right now. And I think that would be a good idea. I know I'm not trying to press you, but have you ever thought about something like that?
It's great. I have two views on that. One, I love police officers. You guys will see me sporting blue line, red line, all that, all first responders. However, I will say that most of their self-defense programs absolutely suck. And that's because a lot of police officers themselves go through not very, what am I trying to say, rigorous training, right? I think that there should be requirements for them to train jujitsu, a certain level of it to where they're intermediate, at least with grappling, being able to get someone taken to the ground without like hurting them and being able to restrain them properly. We see so many videos that get police officers to have bad raps because of the poor training that they have within that. And I have been, instead of just teaching, I used to go to seminars so that I could learn how they're teaching, right? And also to see if I could improve my own techniques. And some of them are so bad, honestly. Like I watch, and I remember being a teenager and going to this seminar that police officers were holding for the community. And they're teaching you how to do grip breaks. And they want you to partner with people your own size. And I was like, no, I'm going to partner with someone that's bigger than me, like a guy that would actually scare me, because I don't care if Dina comes and grabs me. I'm probably not going to be scared of it, right? But if you came and grabbed me or another guy came and grabbed me, I'd probably be a little bit more worried about it, right?
Right.
And I watched them do the grip break, and I was like, I can't get out. I'm raising my hand. I'm like, help. And they're like, well, do this. And I'm like trying. And I'm like, no, if he's holding on very tight, I can't get out of it. And since then, I have actually done 2 seminars where I've taught police officers, and it's been police officer and firefighter specific. I've taught 2 at the Marines and the Navy School in Virginia. So I've done that. The problem is in most states, and that was because I had internal connections, right? The problem is in most states, you have to go through a curriculum study. You have to get all your curriculum approved. If you teach anything that you didn't list inside your book or even a detail or whatever, then you get in trouble. And I'm like, this is really sad because it makes it to where a lot of legitimate instructors and stuff have to go through a year-long process and basically pay to give them free learning, right? And I'm like, I have zero desire to do that when I'm trying to make money and have other hustles going on, when I really just want to share my knowledge to people and get it out there. So usually it ends up being more of a community-wide thing. And I say, please, first responders, come learn this. It's very applicable to what you do. And then there's the problem of the egos where it's like, we don't need to learn anything from you. You're a girl. And I'm like, actually, I'm a girl. Therefore, I can tell you exactly what works and doesn't work because you're a grown man and you'll try to do it to me and I'm going to get away from you every time, 10 out of 10. And sometimes they'll come in and do it. And I've had people be like, this is incredible. Like, this is amazing that you're able to teach this. Like, how are you able to teach this at such a young age? I'm like, well, I go to 20 different gyms. I learn all these things. And I go with my dad and my brother, who are very large, very strong men. And I see what works and what doesn't work. And I learn this stuff properly instead of just going, Dina, come grab my wrist. Let me get out of the grip. Like, it just isn't realistic, right? There's no sense in doing that. Have a big, strong guy, like, grab a hold of you. And I tell my women when I do self-defense classes with them, if you don't have bruises on your wrist by the time we leave this class, I know you didn't try, you know? And they're like, well, we don't want bruises. And I'm like, then don't be in this class. If you don't want choke today, don't be in this class. If you don't want your shirt maybe ripped a little bit, get a different shirt or don't be in this class. And I always tell them that before they come, that I'm like, this is going to be realistic. If you have traumas in the past, please let me know. But I'm going to speak realistically, unless there's kids around, of course, and then I'll kind of tone it down. But to the women, I'm like, listen, my goal is to make it to where none of you get sexually assaulted. If there's 2-3 people around, that's a different story. If it's one-on-one, you should be able to escape 90% of the time.
That's awesome.
As a woman, I would prefer that. I would prefer to have it be realistic, even if even though I've had traumas.
Yeah.
I would prefer that, because having been in that situation, I won't say those situations because there was only one.
I'm so sorry, guys. I have somebody knocking on the door. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't need anything. Thank you.
She got her Chinese delivered.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Keep going. It's just the housekeepers. I had to tell them I didn't need anything.
Having been in that situation one time and luckily gotten out, but if he hadn't wanted me to, I would not have been able to. I mean, if he hadn't, I won't go into it, but I wouldn't have been able to have gotten away if circumstances hadn't allowed it. Can't speak, but I would much rather it be realistic, because you can't overpower a man, even if he's smaller in stature than you or whatever, because they're stronger naturally. It's just, I mean,
yeah. And I tell people that a lot. I actually have women argue that sometimes with me.
I know.
And I'm like, I'm the least person you need to argue with. I've been through it all. I literally fight other men my same size and smaller. I'm like, sure, I'm ranked number 14 in the world now, let's say. The average amateur male who fights but has only been training, let's say 2 years, if he can't beat me, then he sucks. And I know that sounds terrible, but they're so much stronger. They're so much faster. There's just not a fair comparison there. And that can get you in all kinds of the topics of talking about like the transgenders and sports and all that. But it goes down to the assault stuff where it's like against an average man, an average woman doesn't stand a chance.
No,
not a chance.
They don't.
And I'm like, yes, I stand a chance. Against the average man, I think I could dismantle them in about 30 seconds, right? Like, no question. However, if they've trained a year, 2 years, I don't know. I really don't know, especially if they catch me off guard. If a guy just hits me that has zero training whatsoever and I don't see it coming, I'm probably going to go down. Like, that's just the facts of it, right? Like, our heads are no more. Dina's going to have just a chance of getting knocked out as I am. It's not like my head gets trained into no concussion.
Mine will probably be
exactly. That's why I tell people, it's like, you've got to be aware first. That's the first step of self-defense, right? Use anything as a weapon as a female. I'm a huge proponent of concealed carry, huge. And like, I'm like, sure, if you don't agree with it, cool. But I carry and you should carry too, is how I tell them. Because if 2 guys are coming after me, there's no way I'm fighting them off. This isn't freaking Kill Bill, right?
Right.
And that's always the comparison I use. I'm like, that is so fake, it's unrealistic and nonsense. I'm not going to be able to fight off 2 people, even if they're unskilled, right? Unless they're children, right? So
and even some of them you can't fight off. I mean, the elder boys, I mean, some of them are huge. I mean,
but I don't mean to go down that whole topic. I'm sorry for going down the little.
No, and I'm glad you did, because it's an important topic, But well, just like you were saying, Cam Newton. I don't know if you saw the video here in Atlanta. He was teaching a kids football class, and 7 guys decided they were going to jump him. Cam Newton, and he took him out. I mean, it was all on video. I mean, it wasn't like the police ended up coming in and assisting him, but it was crazy. It was like he's there helping the community and he's attacked. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You never know. Of course, now he's getting crap because he was laying teenagers out, but they were aggressors. He didn't know at the moment. So, I mean, you never know. It could happen tomorrow. So, and not to get back on the topic, but if you remember, I'm the disc golf guy, and one of the disc golf players went from the male division to the female division, and it was contested and fought. Well, they finally won it in court. The females are all quitting now because they can't compete. I mean, if you don't win, it's like golf. If you don't win over the weekend, you don't take home $10,000. So what's the point of going to compete if Now, and he sucked in the men's division, so I guess that's why he had to go there. Don't get me going. So it's not fair. I am not for that at all. I mean,
yeah, in any sports, and people are like, well, if it doesn't have to do with pure physical ability, and I'm like, yeah, even those are perfect examples of sports where it's like that may not look like from the outside that it's physical ability, but there's a lot of physical ability put into that, right? And mental abilities too are so different from genders, and women don't like me saying that. I'd say they complain the most about it because they're like, you saying we're dumber, are you saying this? And I'm like, we have different talents. Just like I said about math from the beginning, most men are better at math than women. It's facts. It's not me being like, women are stupid. Yeah. Meanwhile, women have more caring, more motherhood abilities. That's why most women are teachers. They have ability to work with children a lot better. They have ability to be more emotional and better at that analytic side there, where men often have a more, what's it called? Not practical, but yes, pragmatic stance when it comes to like numbers, science, etc. It's not a stereotype of, they won't hire because they're women. It's because the talents are different. And it's supposed to be that way. We're each supposed to have our own individual God-given roles, right? It's not like, well, I think Dina just sucks at math, so I'm not going to hire her because she's I'm going to not hire her because I saw she's a woman. Right. And I'm like, if you were great at math, I'd be like, great, hire her. She's great at math. I talk to my husband and we joke about it, but people are like, oh, Miranda runs the relationship. And I'm like, I really don't. I was like, even though that's probably what it looks like from the outside because I'm the more talkative or I'm more popular, whatever you want to say. I'm like, whatever I run, he allows me to run. And I make it that way. And people, who aren't godly or whatever, are like, why? That's ridiculous. And I'm like, listen, I believe that the man should be in charge of the family. They should be in charge of the relationship in terms of leadership. Like I should be able to look to my husband for more than just protection, and it's like, yeah, I'm a fighter. Cool. I can protect myself, but I still feel a lot safer walking beside my husband. Right. And he says, Miranda, you handle the taxes. You're better at that. And I go, okay, thank you. I'll handle the taxes. I'm better at this. Right. It's like, if he was like, no, I don't want you doing this, I would not do it. If he didn't like me fighting and had a good reason for it and was like, I'm uncomfortable with you rolling with men, here's why, I'd talk to him about it first and be like, well, I don't agree with this, here's why, da, 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 da. And if he still was like, I don't care, I don't like you doing it, I'll find a way to support, I'd be like, all right, done. And it goes into that whole like sense of equality with women. And it's like, they don't want equality. It's all bullshit. Men don't want equality. Do you want to go buy the engagement ring? Do you want to go buy the flowers? No. Heck no, you don't. You just want equality when it comes to your benefits. You want equal pay without doing the equal work. And I make so many people mad by saying it, so I kind of keep it quieter now on social media at least. But I'm like, that's what I believe. That's how I feel about it. And that's not just how I feel. I know that that's how it is. Because if I argue with any feminist, they lose. Like they do. Because we get down to the core of it. And I'm like, you're not actually believing what you're saying. You just want that when it works for you. And that's how it works there.
I think you're right. I think it's true. They don't want equality. They want more than equality. They want
the control.
Yes, the control. And they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Yep.
They want to be able to do what they want when they want, and also want the man at home to be at their beck and call and not do what he wants when he wants.
Right. And also want him to be a manly man at the same time and go do man things. I'm like, you can't have a John Wayne and then also have like a little dweeby guy who goes, yes, ma'am.
Right.
Like, no.
Right. You're right. It's just, it doesn't work that way.
Nope.
It's crazy.
Being the guy in this conversation, I agree with you wholeheartedly, even though I still believe you could kick my ass. So.
Well, I had somebody yesterday. It was so funny. He's actually an MMA coach, and he's like, do you think you could whoop Pete's butt? Like, realistically. Let's have a realistic conversation right now. And I was like, I don't want to say no, and I don't want to say yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if he hit me before we got to the ground, he'd probably win. He's like, but would he be able to hit you, or would you see it coming because he's a lot slower than you? And I'm like, all right, realistically, I could probably whoop his ass.
Yeah.
And And I'm like, but that doesn't mean, like I said, I still feel protected around him. I walk down the street with him. Nobody's thinking about, oh, I'm going to take that girl. Like, no, that doesn't happen. I walk down the street by myself. And that's probably half of the thoughts of all these bad people out there. And I'm like, I feel that too. And when I teach myself defense, the woman's like, are you really like worried about stuff? You know, like, you know how to fight. What do you have to be worried about? And I'm like, 2 guys, a weapon, being caught off guard, being in the dark. It's not like people know who I am. They're going to come up and get me and just say, I don't look like a fighter. I'm not some huge freakazoid muscular woman, which is so funny when people meet me. They're like, oh my goodness, I expected you to be so much bigger. And I'm like, what exactly did you expect me to look like? Like She-Hulk over here? Like, no.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'3.5".
Oh gosh.
The half counts, by the way. I like including the half, you know, but I don't want to lie and say I'm 5'4".
Right. I'm 5'10". My daughter is 5'4".
Okay.
So
She's
I'm
an
tall.
Amazon.
I am an Amazon. I played basketball.
My little
in
sister's
school and
5'7", I think. So she's significantly taller than me. And everybody always jokes. They're like, how's she so much bigger than
So
you? And I'm
you're
like, oh, I got the short end of the stick.
tiny lady.
Your sister is also getting into the MMA, isn't she?
She did for a while. She fought 4 amateur fights. She did very well. She's very talented, and she still trains with me. Like when I'm in camps and need a training partner, she comes and trains. But she's decided to just focus on career path and do it that way. Basically, she was like, this sucks. And I was like, yes, it does. You know, when she started out, I always joke, and I'm not meaning to insult her in any way, but when she started out, she didn't really know what she wanted to do in life, really. You know, she was like, oh, I'll go get my associates. Don't really know what I want for career. Nothing sounds good to me. I hate it all, you know? And I'm like, okay. And so she finally was like, but I know I'd be decent at MMA. If you can do it, I can do it, you know? And I'm like, all right.
Come on.
And so she moved out to Denver with me, trained with me, did an amazing job, went 3-1 as an amateur. And her loss, she would have won if she was at her local town, but we were in the other girls, and it was pro rules. So she got like elbows and knees for the first time, and it was just a bit much for her. And she went up a weight class when she shouldn't have. But either way, still would have won if it was in her hometown. Did a good job. And she was like, I hate this diet thing. I don't get to have, you know, she told me she didn't know if she wanted to do it. And I was like, well, before we decide, I want you to literally make a list and write out the reasons why not and why yes, you know, like make a pros cons. And she came to me and she had so many cons, and I was laughing about it, you know. And she's like, 1, I have to be poor for so long before I can make money at this. And I'm like, deal, done, for sure. Like, not even a question. That's absolutely right.
Right.
2, you know, she's like, I have to diet almost all the time, and I don't get to eat with family or friends or Isaac, which is her husband now. It's like, I don't get to eat with him. I don't get to eat with family. I have to skip holidays. I have to stay away from home. I don't get to travel. I'm like, yep, those are it too. She's like, I also just hate not eating because I don't like dieting and I don't like this. So I was like, yep. And then the training, she's like, I can't even have a good job because of my training schedule. Like, I have to train in the morning, train at noon, train at night. To be good, I have to train all these times, and I'd have to work like someplace I don't want to work to make any money, you know, like bartending or waitressing just at night or something like that. And I was like, yep, I agree there too. So she just stopped fighting. She's focusing on a career. She's working at I think it's like a surgical facility, like as the front secretary. Like, she runs the office. She's the office manager. So it's worked out really good for her. And her husband works in the back as a surgical assistant, and he's working his way through medical school to become a surgeon.
Nice.
So, yeah, so it's working out pretty well for them both, and I'm happy for her, and I'm glad she figured it out before she was 5 years into it, you know?
Yeah.
I remember one of the first things you said to me and Brenda was, everybody needs to be punched in the face at least once. And that stuck with me because you're right. And, you know, I was beat up as a kid, you know, because I was a nerd in school and I got picked on. So I agree. But if you were going into it, I think that would be different. And I would be like, no. You know, even as a paramedic, I tried to avoid it. You know, so if I could talk my way out of it, I did. So,
oh, for sure. And by that, I don't even mean fighting. If you want to come into a gym in a controlled environment and have somebody put a glove on, go for it. But I always say that, and so that Dina can hear it too, if she doesn't remember. The reason I say that is everybody should get punched in the face once, and everybody should punch someone. in the face once.
Yeah.
And the first one is to understand how not scary you are. Like if you punch someone else in the face, you're really not that strong. You're really not going to just knock somebody out by hitting them in the
Oh,
face,
yeah.
right?
True.
And you have so many guys, especially, that are like, oh, I go whoop his butt and I can fight good. I've hit so and so and I've been in all these street fights. And I'm like, cool, hit somebody in the face. Oh, it didn't do anything. It just hurt your
Yeah.
hand. Cool. And maybe they have a bruise or black eye or maybe even a cut, right? But it's not like they're
Mhm.
laying there on the ground passed out like the movies show. And then to get punched in the face, you aren't a piece of glass. You really aren't. You're going to
Yeah.
be fine. It hurts, sure, but it doesn't hurt
Mhm.
that bad. And adrenaline takes over a lot, especially when you're in a fight of some sort. And that's where the women come in and they're like, oh, I could never get hit in the face. And I'm like, it's not that bad. It's really not. And I've had a lady that's like, I kind of want to get hit once, but I don't want to get hit. I was like, I'll be the one to hit you if you want me to. I was like, I'll be very controlled. Let me put
Mhm.
boxing gloves on and it won't even be in the face. Let's start like stomach or something like that. And she was in my women's class and just wanted to know, hit her in the stomach. And she's like, oh, that wasn't even hard. And I was like, oh, that was 50%. And she's like, harder, and we play
Oh,
this
wow.
game. And she's like, I really was surprised by how okay I was
Yeah.
afterwards. And I'm like, yeah, you're not a Barbie doll. You're not a
Right.
piece of glass. Like, you're going to be okay. Now use that confidence to go and make yourself better within this. So I
Yeah.
always say that for the confidence reasons and for ego reasons, you should always get punched in the face once and punch someone in the face once.
Mm. I've been hit in the face with a basketball.
That probably hurt worse than
Hurt.
most people's fists.
It
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say it probably did. I mean, 'cause it hit me smack in the nose.
Larger
I've
diameter.
been hit yeah, it was a big yeah, the diameter of it was probably worse than a fist. And elbowed in the chin and the face,
Ah,
and
there you
yeah.
go. Then you're good. I mean,
So
once
I'm
you have
good.
kids, you've pretty much been punched in the face anyway. I'm
Yeah,
sure
you're
they hit
right.
you.
That's true. She has punched me in the face.
I've got a tiny terrorist now running around the house. He's almost 3, and so
Careful what words you say on these broadcasts. You might get completely edited out.
Yeah.
oh, true. Yeah, he's a midget wrestler that's almost taken me out a time or two. We'll leave it at that.
He's cute.
He's cute, but I swear that boy is he's boying. Good Lord. So, well, yeah. Speaking of kids, have you ever thought about that? I mean, you got a great career going, and I predict you to be like the next Ronda Rousey. So, but at some point, you're going to want to settle down, I'm sure, and not only just make your pickles, have a family, and
Yep. Well, and that's it's funny you mentioned the pickles. I've always said that I want something outside of fighting. That's why I have my education. That's why I'm working for Hershey still. And that's why I started the pickle business. Start a family business that I can have after fighting, even if it makes a meager living. I'm hoping it takes off to where it's not just meager, but if it makes enough to make a family a living, then I'm very happy with that. Even if I pass it on to my brother and his wife or I keep it and work it. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But I hope that it becomes something that is there for after I fight. And my fighting career won't be too much longer, I hope. And even if I have kids, maybe I'll come back. It all just kind of depends on where my other ventures in life are at. And also like how much money I'm making with fighting. Like, is it going to be worth it for me to leave my family, pursue fighting a little bit more? And by leave my family, maybe they could be in an Airbnb where I'm training or something. But overall, my mind is going to be away from family and focused on fighting when I do that. Like, that's just how it works. It's very dialed in. But I'm thinking actually within the next 3 years. You guys are the first kind of to hear this, but it'll be fairly soon. I don't want to be too old when I start to have kids. I don't want there to be any risk. There's already some things in family histories and stuff that make me a little weary. And I'm like, I want to make sure that I'm at my prime when I have children. Hopefully, God willing, that I have children. And be able to have kids, and possibly I'll come back to the sport, possibly I won't. So no promises there either way. But yes, I want kids. I am huge about having kiddos. I love children to begin with. I always have. Everybody jokes, there's a few babies around my gym and they're like, Miranda, don't you be getting baby fever, because I'm always the one that watches them, that holds them while the parents are training if I'm not. And I'm like, listen, I've had baby fever since I was 8 years old. I love kids. Like, I've been babysitting, and I think it came from me helping, like, basically raise my siblings, right? Like, I mothered them a lot when I was young, and I'm like, I love kids, and I'm like, I definitely feel like I'll be a good mother, but I know most people feel like that, so I hope
I
I
think you
am.
will be.
Well, I hope I am, and my husband and I are both ready to have them anytime, but I'm the one pushing the stop button, just holding on to it, waiting for my career to get to a
Yeah,
point where I want it to be and be able to invest in things properly to where I can have a good life for them. I don't want to be, and this isn't an insult to anyone listening or you guys, I don't want to be the parent that works the 9 to 5 and has to leave my kids every day. I want to have something that keeps me at home, even if it's remote work. That's the worst case scenario. And
yeah.
best case scenario is I have my businesses going, hopefully commercial property, with a business on it. I won't say what yet, even though you guys would be, you know what? I will say what. Just nobody, you can't really steal this one. I hope everybody makes them. But I'm hoping to make a prepper store somewhere near the
Oh, that
Lake of
would
the
be
Ozarks.
awesome.
So I'm hoping to buy a
Ooh.
commercial piece of property, have a big building on it that I build from scratch so that it makes the property worth more, and build a prepper store. Like have everything from vacuum sealers to eventually like kind of cross working with Lincoln generators or something. Make it to where you can go to me and order bunkers, and you can put them in, like all this stuff down to little stuff like homesteading stuff, the pickles, right?
Nice. See,
Bulk
that's
foods, things
awesome.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
hoping to do that, have the pickles on the side to make a little bit of a living and not have to worry about fighting anymore or Hershey.
Yeah, you could put, like, your little pickle, station in the back or your
Exactly.
pickle processing thing in the back in case you grow
Yeah,
a little bit bigger,
exactly.
and do that and sell them out of there, and you
That's the
can
plan.
yeah, maybe rent, if there's the river nearby or something, rent kayaks or
Maybe, maybe.
things out there.
Yeah.
That'd be kinda cool. I like that
Yeah.
idea.
it's funny you said that. I was talking to my wife that I was going to be interviewing you, and we've talked about the pickles, obviously. And she says, "I wonder if she's a homesteader or a prepper."
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that was actually what she asked me. I'm like, I
So
don't know.
funny,
It's
so
never
funny.
come up.
So that's how the pickles got started, right? Is my family, since I've been a little kid, has homesteaded pretty much all of our food.
Mhm.
We, when I was young, especially. Now, obviously, we still went to the grocery store, did all that. We weren't like
Yeah,
Amishmen out there or anything,
right.
but we vacuum sealed and we canned and we milked cows. We had our own
Mhm.
chickens. We had our own eggs, we had our own chicken, we had our own beef, we had our own everything, and we'd vacuum seal, freeze stuff bulk. We'd keep big buckets of bulk
Awesome.
spices, like do all that. It's kind of went away as we've gotten older, but I still like canned stuff. And
Mhm.
so the pickling is something that every year or two I try to restock everyone, right? Like with the salsa, with pickles, with beans, like whatever it is my family eats specifically is obviously what I like to can. And this time around, I was canning before Christmas as like oh, I canned for you guys. I'm bringing some home.
Ah,
And I took a video of it like on Instagram, and I was like, doing some wifey stuff, and like
yeah.
had that posted, and people were like, oh my goodness, could we buy a jar? Could we buy a jar? And I was like, I don't know if I want to make pickles for all these people. I don't know if I have time. And I was like, but something in me was like, this is an opportunity. and
Yeah,
and it's so funny. The irony is that my dad, a couple years back, was like, I feel like there's only two brands of pickles out there that are super popular. I know there's more, but there's so many
that's true.
opportunities for doing things. You could start a pickle business, you could do this. And so it was like a
Mhm.
mention thing.
Yeah.
And when this happened, I was like, ding, I was like, maybe this
Mhm.
is like that knock on the door, the little nudge by God,
Yeah,
that's like, go do this. And so I made a post and I was like, if I made pickles, how many people would buy a couple jars? How many people would eat these pickles? And I got like 30 responses back within the first hour. And I was
wow.
like, well, looks like I'm gonna try to make some pickles. And so I started doing it, and of course, it has evolved a lot. Now I have
Yeah.
uniform jars. Now I have the labels on all the jars, everything with the ingredients and nutrition stuff. Like I've got it all figured out. I just need to get FDA approved at this point. So it
Mhm.
really kind of just took off. But yeah, I do homestead. I wouldn't say we're full blown preppers, but I wouldn't say that we aren't. We
Yeah,
kind of want to be and want to grow into that. There's just not been enough money to get the prepping started yet. Now that the kids are finally out of the house, it's freeing up some stuff, but all of us kids are kind of going after our own opportunities right now. But hopefully, we'll recenter back on the ranch and make our lives there.
that'll be good. That'll be real good.
You're still pretty close to them. I mean, I don't mean like relationship distance wise with your family, aren't you?
No, I'm out in Denver, Colorado, where I train, and they're down in Springfield, Missouri area.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so a little ways away, closer than I was when I lived out in the Virginia, that's for sure. But currently I am. Right now I'm sitting in Kansas City getting ready to teach a seminar tonight, so
Oh,
I'm pretty close to them. But yeah, I'm fairly far away from them. And when I have children, when I decide to, I will move back to the ranch like
yeah.
instantly. So that'll be where I go. And that's where everything will change. You know, when I have kids, even if I keep fighting, I'm not going to be training 6 days a week, 5 hours a day. You know, it'll be more
Yeah.
like no more short notices. Call me when you got to fight in 4 months, and I'll go rent an Airbnb and start training again. I mean, I'll stay in shape. I'll keep training, just not every day, all the time.
Right.
Yeah. How does that also work like for, I don't know, movie roles or acting possibilities? Do you have an agent, or do the people just call you and go, hey, we need somebody? Have you had that opportunity come up yet?
I unfortunately have not had that opportunity come up yet. I've had a couple documentaries and stuff that I've been a part of, but nothing big. I do have a manager, and hopefully those opportunities will come around eventually. It's kind of like I said at the beginning, if you're not loved or hated in some way, and don't have that persona going for you, it doesn't seem like you get those opportunities. But if I ever get them, I'm definitely going to jump on them.
Sure.
Even all the way, you know, people are like, what about the pro wrestling now? And I'm like, we'll see. So many opportunities, so many options. And it's like, what do I want to do is really just where I need to focus. I've got so many opportunities.
Right.
I just need to pick a couple that I want to focus on. And right now it's the ones that keep me close to family and invest for my family, not just, you know, myself. I never want to live in Hollywood or anything like that, you
No,
know? So
that's too much bull going on there. I wouldn't even worry about that.
if it's
So
enough money for an opportunity or two, I'd take it.
Well,
But if
maybe,
it came down to like, this is your career, nah.
yeah, maybe a movie or two or something, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't live out there.
No,
Mm-mm.
no way.
you're already a part of the Disney Marvel family, so I think we talked about it before get you into the get you into one of the Marvel movies.
Don't throw me into that category.
No,
Well, not the geeky comic book side. How about
Right.
yeah,
when you're sitting at home, when just you and a little bit later in life, you and the kids and your husband watching TV? What sport are you watching, and what's your junk food?
Mm.
Sport would only be UFC. I don't really watch any other sports. And junk food, I love ice cream and I love cookies. In fact, I have one
I
little
love
piece of
ice
cookie left from home now that my stepmom made me. She's like, "Do you want anything?" And I was like, "Cookies." And that was
my
me when
kinda
I had my fight. And it's so funny because I have, you know, hundreds of cravings before my fight because I'm starving to death. And
yeah.
I've been deprived of all sugar and processed foods for a month. And so they're like, "What do you want to eat?" And I'm like, you know, I go down the list of all these things I want to eat. And I got there and I was so sugared out, you know, like I have
Oh,
been done.
man.
Like after 2 meals, I was like, I'll never eat food again. I'm going to die. And it's because my stomach shrinks, you know? So like even
Mhm.
eating one piece of pizza, I'm like, "Ugh," like I'm about to throw up.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. And so when I got there, she's like, "I made cookies. I made this. I made that." And I was like, "Oh, I don't even want to look at them. Like, get
Oh
them
my
away
gosh.
from me." So
I
now I have
love
a half
cookies.
of a cookie left right now that I'm like, just as you could see, I have like my method of eating around the outside and waiting for the gooey middle. I'm weird like
Mhm.
that. I'm like,
Me
save the
too.
best for last.
I eat, Reese's Cups like that.
Oof, I
Good.
love Reese's, but of course I work for Hershey, so I try to avoid those
Oh,
things so that I
yeah.
don't get into a habit of eating a bunch of chocolate.
Yeah. I used to eat
Every time I go home, that's what mom does, is gives me bags of cookies. And I swear I gain 10 pounds every time. So
I used to work at a cookie store. It was bad. But I was young and thin then, so
That's
didn't
amazing.
make
well,
much
listen,
of a difference.
I know you don't have a whole lot more time with us. I appreciate it. And of course, I'm always going to invite you back and pester you. Um, let's tell everybody where you can get the pickles. And I know
Yeah.
you're a little bit
Yeah, I'll talk
behind.
about the auction for a second too. So as
Yes.
far as the pickles, prowlerpickles.com, pretty simple. Prowlerpickles.com. I literally have 11 flavors. I know that sounds
Oh,
crazy, but
yummy.
I have spicy flavors, so like spicy dill, spicy garlic. My brain isn't working right now. Zesty bread and butter, which isn't super spicy. It's just like bell peppery spice.
Yummy.
Spicy barbecue, which has been a hit lately.
Sounds
And I also have like regular bread and butter. I have regular dill, garlic dill, sweet pickles, which are one of my favorites. I have sugar-free sweet. Yeah, so I have a lot of different ones. Oh, and sour. Sour dill's a big popular too because it's rare, right? So the
Mhm.
sour dill, which are not my cup of tea, but people love them. People
Oh,
love them, and they're very good for health because they're probiotics naturally, and they have nothing bad in them. It's all literally water and spices.
oh
So
wow.
that's pretty awesome. It doesn't taste like it's just water and spices, but that's how fermenting works, right? So
Nice.
check them out. Online is all the details, prowlerpickles.com. You guys can go on there and get sample packs all the way from like little pints to quarts to half gallons, even though the half gallons are a pain in the butt to make, but the quarts and the pints are best.
Cool. Let me ask you, have you ever thought of pickling any other vegetables besides?
Yeah, for sure. I get asked all the time to do more stuff, and I just don't have time right now. But
Oh,
I'm
okay.
hoping to do pickled peppers is another one that I'm hoping to add on fairly soon, and then doing electrolyte shots because the pickle
Oh
juice
yeah.
basically is that. I do
Yeah.
sell the pickle juice, but I'd like
Mhm.
to start adding like the vitamins and minerals into them to make them pure
Mhm.
electrolyte shots and be able to sell those. And I'm hoping once I get FDA approved to put my pickle juice into breweries and stuff so that they can start
Oh
making
yeah. Pickle
pickle
shots.
shots and
Mhm.
pickle flights so that they can have different flavors of pickle shots and sell them together.
That is kind of cool. I like
You're
it.
a
Yeah.
woman after my own heart and stomach.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that have I've heard rave about pickle shots. I've never
Mm.
had one myself, but
My mother-in-law used to
if your
make these.
stuff was in there, I would eat. I would take one.
All
Love
right. All right.
it.
My mother-in-law used to make, and my wife doesn't even know how to make them. These little tiny pickled onions, and she used to give us
Yep.
pictures of those.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't even know what they're
So
called, but
if you get a few of my flavors, they actually have pickled onions within them of
Ah.
the pickles. So part of the flavors, so like the bread and butter have onions and pickles in them, and
Oh,
the sweet
yum.
fire ones, I forgot that flavor. The sweet fire ones have pickles and onions in them. So some of them have some different stuff, and of course the spicy ones have some pickled peppers in there with them too. So check them
Nice.
all out. And
Right.
I don't know if we can pull clips from this. I assume we can, but I'll talk about my auction as well and would love to post that too. But
Okay.
the auction that I have is for all of my UFC gear from, shouldn't say all, I keep my gloves. Nobody gets to touch my gloves from all my fights. They go in my trophy cabinet at home. It's the only thing I keep. But if you guys want fight gear, like everything from my fight outfit that I fought in, my flag that I walked out with, my sunglasses that I wore, my hat that I wore, I have shoes online. I have a walkout t-shirt that my dad wore, walkout jackets, all kinds of stuff. It's available in my auction. If you go to fearthemaverick.com, used to be .net,
Mhm.
fearthemaverick.com, you go to my shop and you click on the auction. It's not just profit for me. The profit goes to a company called Alight. It's actually based in Denver to help human trafficking survivors, and it stands for Alliance to Lead Impact in Global Human Trafficking. And they're basically this legal team that assists survivors of human trafficking all the way from getting their convictions taken off that basically they were forced to do by their traffickers. It helps them with custody battles for children that they did not willingly have. It helps with their financial issues, of course, when they're in court, crimes that they've committed, getting out of them, all kinds of stuff that we don't even think about as survivors that they may have that are criminal problems for them to be able to get back to their families and be safe and free, basically. So
Nice.
go support them, go participate in the auction. It's all raffle based, which is pretty awesome. So you don't have to be rich and you don't have to go on there and bid $800 to get a hold of something. Go on there and you can buy tickets for as low as $10 each and get a chance to win each and every item. So go check it out. It's a pretty great opportunity to support a great cause. And like I said, it's not expensive. So you don't have to be like, I would, but I'm not rich. Like, you can donate as low as $5 to the donate button if you're not even interested in stuff. And if you buy 2 or more raffle tickets, no matter what items it's for, I'll send you a free autographed picture if you don't win an item.
Cool.
oh, nice. Nice. All right. Well, yeah. One thing I was going to ask you about that, and I read it again last night to make sure you don't wash any of the stuff.
Some of the stuff I do, but stuff, I know this sounds really weird, but I got some people in there that find it way more valuable, like my weigh-in outfit, for instance, and that's just whatever, like
Yeah.
I
I
know.
was,
And my
yeah,
fight
I
outfit,
know.
I
I
don't
was like,
because it keeps the blood and stuff on it. So that one makes sense. I never wash my fight outfit. It kind of just
Yeah.
stays shadow boxed the way it is. But most of the stuff I do, but some of the stuff is unwashed because it usually sells for more. And I'm like, whether it's creeps or whether it's just fans, like if it helps a good cause,
Yeah.
saves me laundry detergent anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just thought it was a little weird. And I was like, excuse me. I was like, well, I guess there's a market for it. So
If somebody wins it and they want it washed, I'll wash it. But
Yeah, they don't get your underwear.
Well, the weighing outfit, it is what it is. It's the shorts
okay,
and the
gotcha.
straw. So that one they
Gotcha.
do, and that's why I'm saying there's some weirdos out there. I'm like, if it helps
That's
the cause.
true,
I guess.
But it's not like I'm
Right.
doing stuff with it. Like there's some creepy requests out there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Show me your feet, Miranda.
oh my goodness. I've had people ask me to dip my feet in my pickle jars before and then sell them to them.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh,
I'm
my
not.
goodness.
I'm
No,
not. They're like,
no,
I'll buy
no.
pickle juice if you do this, and I'm like, no thanks. I'm
Send
like,
me
is
your
it
bath
worth it?
water. Send me a jar of your bath water.
Love you.
And my husband's all for it. He's like, do it.
Yeah. Just tell him you did it. Hell, they'll never know.
Right, exactly. And that's what my dad says. He's like, just tell him you did it. And I'm like, listen, I don't even want the reputation that I will do it. So no.
I know it. That's crazy.
Yeah, that would be freaky. Yeah. All right. Well,
take one picture of your toe in a jar and then send it to everybody that wants it like
that. A bar in Alaska, if you make it to the end of this rugged 4-wheel trail, there's a bar. And when you go in, after you make it there, you find this one spot. There's a shot that has an actual human toe in it.
What?
And people try and get through that, whatever it is in Alaska, the rock climb and all the mud, just to have that drink. Yeah, it's a true story.
Who would want that?
There are weird people out there.
Really? Whose toe is it?
I don't. It's like a story of like some Alaskan busher that cut his toe off.
These are all the people we find frozen in the mountains that never made it any further. Let's try and make some money off of these tourists.
It's all the people that didn't make it.
It's the big foot that got caught. So they just got his toe. Yeah. So, well, Miranda, I really appreciate it, and I'm going to invite you back. If I ever win an eBay auction, I will be in touch. So I'm trying hard to win a card. So
great. But if you guys participate in the auction or know anybody that will, please share it on personal pages and all that. Trying to get it done by March 10th is probably when I'll take it off. So plenty of time to get involved with it and everything, and hopefully we get some traction for them and be able to put it towards a good cause. And every time I try to do a different human trafficking survivor cause if I can, and of course read up about them, make sure they're not scammy or take money from them. So do the best that I can with that, and hopefully it gets somewhere. But thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Always have fun.
Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed it.
We love you. I hope you get a fight soon, because I want to see you, but I don't want you to get beat up. So if you ever think about
hopefully Casey O'Neill or Vivian. So we'll see who says yes if either one of them do. I already Casey saw the messages, but she didn't reply. So I doubt that she wants to fight me.
I wouldn't want to fight you.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't either.
All right, Miranda, you have a great day. We will see you soon.
Have a good one.
Appreciate
Thanks for everything, and we love you. Stay safe, and we'll be buying pickles soon.
All right. Awesome. God bless, guys. Thank you.
God bless you.
Yes. Bye-bye.